Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam and I'm pre-introducing the video before the other introduction. Basically, I did not get around to uploading and editing my March wrap up in time, so we're kind of just mishing these two videos together. So we're going to talk about my March reads and then we're going to talk about my April reads. So enjoy, see you a little bit. Hello, we are finally here to talk about my March wrap up. I'm somehow in the month of March, I read 15 books and I don't remember half of it. So we're going to get through this wrap up. It's going to be hopefully on the shorter side and I don't ramble a whole lot about these books, but I can kind of give you brief feelings that I had towards them. You know how the wrap ups go. I will not be talking about any of the books that I read for my Critical Role reading vlog, seeing as I go much further in depth in my feelings about those books. So if you want to hear per se my thoughts on The Night and the Moth, one of my favorite books of this year so far, you can go check out that video. But with that said, I think we can just jump right in. The first book that I read was Cold Wire by Chloe Gong. This is the Fairy Loot special edition. I also have some overlays throughout this from Fairy Loot as well. Blanket statement, I just want to say that I do recommend this, and I also have seen Chloe Gong getting some hate, being like pro-military, because this is set in a military school setting, and I just need to let you guys all know that, like, that's not the point. There's more being said. It's actually kind of anti-military, and I think you guys need to, like, read the books maybe before jumping into discourse. In March, Covers with Cassidy was hosting Realmathon, which was a month-long competitive team-based readathon, and this was one of the books that I had read because I was on Team Mages, and so one of our prompts was to read a school setting thing. This is sci-fi. This is so sci-fi. It's also like dystopian, it's also romantasy, but like also not, because romance is not like the main focus of the book, but there's definitely like some plots going on with some romance. In this, we are following two different perspectives, two different women. We're following Irali and Leah. And I would say that one perspective was definitely more interesting than the other throughout the whole book. And it made it really hard to keep momentum with it because I was just like, I just don't care about. I want to say, hopefully my memory serves me right, that I liked Irali's perspective and not so much Leah's, but that also very well could have been flopped. I really struggled with the characters sounding different in their chapters because we're using the same narrator, and I was primarily reading this when I went on walks with my dog, and so I was just listening to the audiobook, and so I would kind of get lost. If there weren't like very specific plot points happening, I wouldn't have been able to tell you who was who. And now that like some time has passed since I had read this, I genuinely could not tell you who was who. I remember the vibes, which I enjoyed. I remember the plot. Whilst I was in it, it was like a good time. I think I ended up giving this like a 3.5 star maybe generously. I would say it's more close to a 3. But I will say the ending was very spectacular. It was very fun and interesting and not something that you see so often that it's like considered groundbreaking, but it's not common enough that you're like, ugh, I've seen it a million times. It's not interesting. So I did overall enjoy the ending especially. It makes me on the fence on if I want to continue in the series or not. I genuinely don't know. I have so many series that I'm in the middle of that I feel like this year especially I've been very picky about the books that I want to continue in, but also this was a new release, so I don't know when we're getting the second book, at least probably not for a year, so I've got time to sit on it and think it over, but also with how much of this has kind of left my memory, I don't know if jumping into the sequel would even be beneficial, so I don't know. That was Cold Wire. The next book that I read I have some shame around this one. So I read Deathless One by Emma Ham, and the thing about this was, I started this in 2025. I had listened to anywhere between 25 and 50% of the book, and I was liking it. I had no issues with it. This is a romantasy, and I was so into the love interest, Death himself. In this, we are following a bride-to-be who is of high station in society. I think she's like not quite a princess, but like kind of a princess. And basically she is murdered on her wedding night and there's a coup against her family, and she decides to make a deal with Death himself so that she can kind of get some revenge. I don't think this is a very plot-heavy book, all things considered. I really did like Death though, and the whole idea of the gods and pantheons in this world. I didn't super love our character. She was a little bit flip-floppy, Jessamine. A little bit flip-floppy in her character, like sometimes she's very headstrong and powerful in her own right, but then other times she kind of came off a little meek and just didn't seem consistent throughout. But Death is where this book really shines. I think if you're looking for book boyfriends and you just want to collect them all, this was a good contender for that. It's definitely on the shorter side, and because it took me so long to read this, I ruined my own momentum waiting so long to finish it. So that was my bad. I think if you maybe enjoy reading your books over a longer period of time, or you just binge them, this is, I think, a good book for that. But the sequel's already out, so if you're interested and you like it, you don't have to wait too long. You can jump right into the next book. So Deathless One, I think I'm giving this one a 3.5. I think I did myself a disservice waiting so long to finish it, but that's like not on the book. That's on me. And it was March, so as I've talked about a bajillions of times, I was in tax season, but also trying to like get some momentum for reading because Realmathon was happening, so I wanted to participate and help my team, but also, again, it's very hard for me to focus on books at the office during tax season, so I was only reading at home, primarily on walks. The next book I read is actually kind of a similar story. I read Beneath Black Sails by Claire Sager. This is so Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, if you love the Pirates of the Caribbean books or movies and you want a romantasy book very similar, this is the one for you. I think the tension, the setup, the build-up, the, like, these two characters, the way that they go at each other, the way that they know each other so well, absolutely adored the dynamic between these two. Everything else I feel kind of met about. I actually started this, I think like 2 years ago, which is really embarrassing because this was the Who Did This To You book club pick, I think in like 2024. That's so long ago. This is a book club hosted by Tori Between Pages, and so I like planned to participate and join, and then I read like maybe 100 pages and then I just put it down and never returned to it. And then I saw that my library got a hold of the audiobook copy, so I was like, of course, let's pick it up, let's try it out. And then I lost the momentum. Once like the romance was a little bit more happening, I was like, I really just wanted it for like the shenanigans of like being this elegant woman and then also turning around and being like this fierce pirate. I loved the dynamic. I really loved their banter. But then like they kind of came as a unit and like more things were going on. And that's kind of where it started to lose me. I don't think it's a bad book. I don't have plans on continuing in the series, but I don't think that's like a never. I think that's just a not for a little while. I might revisit in the future. It's not like a hard DNF, but it's certainly not like a I want to go back to it type of thing. Ooh, the next book. Oh my god, guys. You can really tell that I've been in quite the romantasy mood lately. Especially in the month of March, I was really into romantasy picks because I felt like they were a little bit lighter to read, a little bit easier for my noggin. And so the next book that I read was a backlist title, also by Claire Sager? Crazy. Yeah. Slaying the Shadow Prince. This is a Shay? Oh my god. This is a fae shapeshifter romance. It is a bully romance, which I was very hesitant about. I think if this book was any longer, I don't think I would have been able to fully commit and buy into their love and their romance and whatever, because he's just kind of nasty, but also like not so like it really depends on the scene. Some scenes are like really bad. Other scenes it's like sleep at the foot of my bed. That part was like whatever, but like shattering glass on the floor and making her crawl through it. I think this only worked for me because of our main character. She was so strong. She was so stubborn. She refused to let this get to her and tear her down. And she was like, you want a show? I will put on a show for you. If you want your court to see how you are and this is how our dynamic is going to be, like, bet. And I love that about her. She didn't take any shit from him. She was like, absolutely. If this is what you want, if this is what we're doing, I'm in. And she definitely like tit for tat. And I really appreciated that about this book because I feel like a lot of the time, and there is a power dynamic issue in this because like he's the prince or king or whatever, and she's basically his servant in some way. But it was, again, because of her character and the way that she was written, it didn't feel icky in the power dynamic. Like, obviously he has power over her, but like I think that kind of added to the allure of him. I think he was interesting. I also really appreciated that this works very well for the romantasy bingo that Cassidy is hosting because this is a shapeshifter and he's not a wolf or a dragon. He is a cat. He's a saber-tooth tiger maybe? I don't remember exactly, but he's like a fancy big cat, and I really like that. I thought that was really fun. I love cats, and so it was really fun to like read a shifter who's also a little bit more on the feline side, which is uncommon, but I thought it was fun. I like the rules of the fae of like drinking the wine and everything. I think it was well incorporated. I definitely preferred this over Beneath Black Sails by Claire Sager. I'm definitely going to pick up more from this author. I might not actually be in this room anymore, but I think I recently got their newest release, The King of Ravens or whatever that book is. Interested in it. I'm just excited to see this author's journey. The next read was actually a nonfiction, and one of my favorite nonfictions that I've read in a hot minute. It's actually a memoir by Alison Stoner, former Disney star, former Camp Rock star. I think that was like really her big break. That and the, was it the Cheaper by the Dozen movies? I don't remember what they're called. Fake fan, I know. Alison Stoner wrote Semi-Well-Adjusted Despite Everything. I actually have recommended this to my friends because I really enjoyed it. I think that Alison Stoner narrates the audiobook herself, and I really enjoyed her narration and the way that she was like telling it. It didn't feel too salacious in her story. I really appreciated how honest it was, but also knowing Alison Stoner's journey with trying to bring awareness and attention to child actors and the way that they're treated, the way that's bad for their mental health. So I just overall really enjoyed the lens of like seeing Alison Stoner's journey and then like hearing more about them from like a personal level, like from childhood to adulthood, and how everything kind of influenced them and how like their family dynamic impacted the work and being the breadwinner for their family. I just really like these types of memoirs. I think that they're very interesting, but also like give you enough nostalgia. Like there is talks of Demi Lovato in it, but it's not in a way that makes you feel icky or weird. It's just, I think Alison Stoner hit the nail on the head. I think it was very well done. I applaud, because writing is hard. I don't know if Alison Stoner wrote this or if there was a ghost writer, but either way, listening to the audiobook, it just felt very seamless. And then I read another romantasy. Yes, I actually was recommended this by my friend Chloe. So Chloe, don't be mad at me. Normally our tastes very much align. My issue with Something Wicked by Fallon Ballard, this was a debut. My issue is because I love and adore Moulin Rouge so much, it was near impossible to not know the beats that were coming and like to see the direct references constantly. I know this is inspired by Moulin Rouge, and that's perfectly fine. But I have seen the movie so many times. I can sing you every single jukebox song there's ever been. It's just like, it was too similar for me. But I do think that it does change some things, like our main character has a sister that they're protecting, and the plot gets a little bit wacky towards the like second half of the book. Overall, I think the setup is fun. I think if you don't like super strictly know the story of Moulin Rouge, or you're not like the hugest fan, you might, enjoy this a little bit more. I think that their dynamic was interesting. The characters were fun. My battery is flashing, 1 second. Back to what I was saying. I didn't super adore the characters as much as I think I wished I could have. But again, like when you're picturing, what's his name? Ian McGuire? It's very hard to be like, yes, this man is better. But that's, a personal issue that I had. I think overall, it's fun. It's interesting. It's on the shorter side, which I do appreciate for this. It's very closely tied to Moulin Rouge, but still different enough to make it their own. And it's not like just carbon copy of it. This definitely has like more magic and stuff, which there's no magic in Moulin Rouge technically. And so, yeah, it's just, a little too similar for my liking. It should be on paper like the perfect book for me because I adore Moulin Rouge so much, but yeah, just something about it just was a little off. But I still liked it. I still recommend it. It just wasn't my favorite romantasy ever. I don't know if I'll continue with the series though, to be honest. Alright, last 3 books. Let's talk about them. I picked up Ride or Die by Delilah S. Dawson. This is a middle grade thriller, horror, maybe, I guess. I overall really enjoyed this. This is set at a carnival. It's a new student who had to move cities because of something that happened within the family that she's trying to keep a little bit under wraps. She really wants to get into the clique of, what was their names? They all had the same name. It was like Emily's, the M's, I think. And she really wants to get in. Does her name start with Emily or E? Not in any way, shape, or form. But it doesn't matter. She's going to become these girls' friends. And that's really important to her. So she's, playing dumb, trying to just be noticed, but not like come on too strong. She gets invited to one of their birthday parties, the leader of the group's birthday party at this amusement park. This amusement park has some tragedy behind it. There was a group of teenagers who seemingly died at this amusement park, and that part of the park is completely closed down. You can't get in. But some little magic happens. A truth or dare commences, and just before all of the kids have to return back to like the sleepover supervised area, our main character goes through a small little Coraline, Alice in Wonderland-esque rabbit hole of a door and finds themselves on the abandoned, haunted scary, decrepit side of the amusement park, where luckily she comes across a few teenagers who kind of help her through. She becomes friends with them, she really idolizes them, and there's just a lot of sweet, tender moments between it, but also some freaky body horror that I really ate up. I really enjoyed Delilah S. Dawson's work. I was excited to see some like middle grade horror. I've just really been lacking in the horror, as you could tell by this wrap up of so many romantasy books. I just need more horror in my life, so hopefully that'll be in my near future. I actually really enjoyed this one. I think that the message seems obvious to me, but I'm also a full-grown adult, so obviously it's not going to hit for me quite the same, but just like putting that aside, I don't think it's too scary for a kid. I think it's just the right amount of creepy, but has like very clear messages that I think a kid probably would need to hear at some point in their life. So I think overall it was very well done. I'm probably going to read more Delilah S. Dawson middle grade horror thrillers in my future, to be honest. The next book that I read, I actually got a special edition of. I think I need to just very clearly state right up here at the top, I need to do a reread of this before the next book comes out. I think I need to sit with this and really give it my full attention, not my tax season attention, because if you know anything about me, I have a shelf down here. It's all like my Caraballs, my Night Circus, the performance and stage and magic that I love. I love these types of whimsical books so much. They are right up my alley. They are some of my all-time favorites. So why was this not a win? I think it was a me problem. I truly do. I think it was just the time in which I had read this. It didn't work. I think that this could be my perfect book next time I pick it up, which this is going to be a series. I don't know if it's a duology or a big series. Not sure. But I do know that when the time comes around for the sequel, I will re-pick this up, give it a reread, and hopefully I will love it even more than I did. I thought this was good, though. I really enjoyed the characters, the ideas, the world. In this, basically, we're following a girl who has it against these, like, performers. But the performers are almost godlike in the way that they come off, their abilities, but also telling stories and performing like this is illegal in half of the world, and so they have to be very cautious and careful about everything. And when she is like coming in to spy and see what's going on because she's got a hunch that they've done something to her in her past, that she's ready for some revenge. She's so clocked into revenge, and then she ends up having to audition and become a part of the touring show. And then we meet Jude. I love Jude. I really appreciate Jude. I cannot wait to revisit him again in the future. I just really like the magic system, although overall, like that was like the big thing. I think if you question the magic a little bit, the world building a little bit, I do think it falls a little under the bar of like what you'd want it to be, but I do still think overall this was a good read. Yeah, so there's like kind of a competition for Jude's immortality, and he's like the leader of the players, and a bunch of deals have to be made, bargains are going on, and a little bit of performance. I don't want to give too much away. I do honestly recommend this. I think it's very fun, and I really did enjoy it. I think, again, on a reread, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be perfect. And then we have the last book to talk about, which I'm really not gonna go into detail about because I talked at length in Aaliyah's book club over on, new name change. Can I remember it off the top of my head? Aaliyah's Cozy Corner? I'm pretty sure that's right. What are you doing? And we over there, where Aaliyah hosts the 4Bs book club, Richie and I often join, and we often read books together. Right now, we are making our way through the Ursa Dax Mail Order Colony Bride series, which I talk about often on this channel. I'm really loving that experience. But along with some alien cowboy romances, we sometimes mix it up with a little bit of horror, a little bit of thriller, and we decided Layla was going to be the one. We all read Verity together. The Verity movie's coming out. We've kind of been on a very, very light Coho train. We're really not big fans. We have a lot of critiques, but I think Layla is one of the worst books I've ever read in my entire life, and I'm flabbergasted by the amount of booktubers whom I love, adore, trust, have given this 5 stars. It baffles me beyond anything I would ever expect from booktube. Like, I do not understand why anybody, and I'm so sorry if you like this book, I'm happy for you, I don't get it. I don't get it. I wish I did. I sometimes wish that I was one of those Coho fans that like didn't see the problems, didn't think about it too hard, didn't question it, but I had problems. Luckily, we read Layla, not necessarily in a live show structure, we actually kind of buddy read it, so we would read parts of it and then we'd talk about it, and what a wild time. What an absolutely insane time. Layla is about a boyfriend and girlfriend, a very manic pixie dream girl, and they fall fast in love, and then a tragedy strikes, and to rekindle their relationship and romance, because after the accident, the girlfriend, Layla, I think is her name. There's a few women in this that I'm trying to remember. She doesn't seem quite herself. She doesn't seem quite right. So they go back to the place that they had met, this bed and breakfast, to try and rekindle their romance. And oh, so much comes out. So many things happen. I think Leeds is maybe one of the worst men I have ever read in the history of romance. And here's the thing. This is meant to be like a romance thriller. It's meant to be romantic. It's meant to have romance. I'm supposed to ship these characters together. I'm supposed to believe that they're in love and that it's destined for them to be together. So explain to me why he sucks so much. My friends really like to describe him as a horrible head pusher, and he's just nasty. He's just a bad person, bad character. Hated everything about him. So like, sorry to end this video on such a sour note, but Leeds is truly the villain of Layla, and I do not understand it. So yeah, I read that. If you really want to hear like full in-depth thoughts of the entire plot, if you don't mind spoilers, or if you've already read it, or maybe you haven't read it since COVID and you want a refresher, highly recommend go checking out our reading sprints for it, where we read it together live in a buddy read fashion. It was very fun. I will have fond memories of this book, even though it was one of the worst books I've ever read. I think it's the only 1-star I've given out this year, which is crazy. So take that how you will, Coho fans. Sorry about it. I do hope the Verity movie turns out good. I'm really excited. Excited is maybe the wrong word, but I am looking forward to the Verity movie with Anne Hathaway and Dakota Johnson. I'm not really good with actors, I'm sorry. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully I can get my mom to read Verity before the movie comes out so we can watch it together. I am prepared to cringe the whole way, but I'm also looking forward to the experience, you know? Like, it's not very often when books like these get turned into movies. I think Layla would be a way better movie, and if we rewrote Leeds in a lot of ways and maybe, like, reframed some of the conversations we had about the women in the book, I think it could make for an interesting movie adaptation. I'm just saying. But there would be a lot of retconning we need to do in order for that to happen, okay? But anywho, that is the end of my March wrap up. Here's all of my like little stats. Read 15 books, read over 1,000 pages. Look at me go. Read 57 hours of my audiobooks at my desired length per book. It changes often, so this is just the actual hours that I had spent listening to audiobooks, which, you know, sometimes you think about it and you're like, that's so much. That's so much. But I wouldn't have any other way. I would say that my best 3 books for the month were Night and the Moth, which we didn't talk about here, sorry. Semi-well-adjusted despite literally everything, and A Stage Set for Villains. See, I did like it. I just had higher hopes for it, that's all. Hello, we're back for the April portion now. I just counted how many books I read and then I immediately forgot. I read 21 books in the month of April, which is very cool for me, but at the same time embarrassing because I read 21 books, most of them being like for projects or readathons, so I won't talk about those ones quite as in depth, but it's embarrassing because I didn't even read the books on my April TBR because I was prioritizing other stuff and it just got out of hand. But we will be talking about 11 of the books that I read that weren't specific for videos. So if you're curious about my thoughts on books such as The Mask of Mirrors, The Jasmine Throne, City of Stairs, A Taste of Golden Iron, those were all in my Critical Role reading blog, so I will have those linked for you. And then on top of that, I had a killer 48-hour readathon, which was hosted by Cassidy, Mel, Monica, and Lexi, with the Pageathon mini 48-hour readathon that they hosted, where I basically read 5.5 books. But in my Pageathon reading blog, I read Best Offer Wins, Mating with the Mallows, Scrub Me Daddy, How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates, The Gravewood I finished, and then I started Orcbound, and I also started The Rights of the Starling. I haven't finished yet. We don't have to talk about it. I will. I'm going to get to it this month. Don't worry. But if you're curious about my thoughts on especially Best Offer Wins and How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates, those are probably the more interesting ones. Also The Gravewood, because I ended up canceling my Kelly Andrews reading vlog that I teased a few times. So if you're interested in those thoughts on those books, that video will be there for you. Decide? I don't know anymore. I'm not gonna exactly review all of these books like in perfect order, in chronological order, but we're gonna get through them all and that's all that matters. So the first 2 reads that I'm gonna talk about were Strange Houses and Strange Pictures. This is by Uketsu, who is a Japanese horror author. I think he also has a YouTube channel, and I think he stays like pretty anonymous, but he has written some shorter horror books all about like images. So the first one, Strange Houses, is about like this house plan and the like conspiracy behind it. You sort of need to suspend your disbelief when you're reading these books because no way does somebody look at a floor plan and go, that's weird. let me predict the weirdness and make assumptions, and somehow those assumptions are right. You kind of just have to like let it be, but they're fun. The first one, if you know some of the like accidental tropes that I end up reading that I don't like, this falls into that, but I still enjoyed it. I think overall, like, it's very creative. It's eerie enough. I thought it was fun. I think I preferred Strange Pictures more than Strange Houses. And at the time of filming this, I'm literally going to finish this video and then I'm going to read Strange Buildings. Like, I'm very invested in these worlds. I think they're really cool and clever. I just love having such like an immersive story where there's like little pictures and you have to like figure things out. It's fun. I love the mystery of it. But Strange Pictures is a similar story where somebody kind of like drew pictures. I think there was about 5 photos and they hinted at a bigger picture. And from that, it became a much larger story with like a lot of connections and things that you don't really expect. And I thought it was like really well done and cool. So I really like them. I think I've given them each about 4 stars. Like, I really, really had fun with them overall. I thought it was like a really good time. And then like on a total different vibe, we have 3 Ursa Dax books that I need to update you on. Resisting the Alien Rider, Wanted by the Alien Warden, and Married to the Alien Mountain Man. One of these was good. One of these was okay. And the third, first 5 stars in the series for me. I adored Oaken so much, and I also really liked, we're not sure if it's Jaya or Jaya. I feel like it's probably Jaya, but I really enjoyed this book. Especially. I loved Oaken. Oaken's little mountain man, who was so excited for this bride program. He's gonna get a human bride. Is simp of a little alien, and he's so excited. And his intended bride is book 3, which is Resisting the Alien Rider. And in that one, she ends up with a different alien. And so he's like, basically, he's out of a wife. And that's all he ever wants. And then, luckily, somebody crash lands onto the planet, and bada boom, a cute little romance. I really enjoyed this. I just thought it was so much fun. I think each book really can work for different readers. I really loved Oaken's book because it kind of had a friends to lovers feel, where it was really setting up a relationship. They were getting to know each other. It was a marriage of convenience, not quite fake dating, but just like, hey, you need to stay on the planet, like, let's get married, and then be friends and like try to help each other out along the way. Adored it. Wanting the Alien Warden, I thought was gonna be like one of the best. And I thought it was like, okay. I really appreciated it because we got to see more characters from future books, and it kind of expanded on the world itself, which I did appreciate. As like a plot reader, I did appreciate that. But the romance itself was a little bit lacking, a little bit too insta, a little bit too quick. I would say that Resisting the Alien Rider book 3 has been my second. I change my answers all the time. I think this is my order, but every time we talk about my order, I do flip-flop quite a bit with like which ones I think I prefer. So it's hard to say, but I know for sure Married to the Alien Mountain Man, number 1. Oh, it was so good. The next book I can talk about kind of quickly because I don't have a lot to say about it, but in March, the Transwrite Readathon was happening and I kind of missed the mark. I wasn't able to participate as fully as I would have liked just because of the time in which it lands. So I was catching up a little bit and I only squeezed 1 book in. And so I picked up Transmogrify, which is a short story collection. So it works for our fantasy if you're participating in that and you're wanting a short story collection. It is young adult. It reads pretty young, most of the stories, I would say. But it's all about magical trans kids getting their happy endings, having just joy, having at times some struggles. There is a Cinderella retelling that was like hard for me to listen to at times where I was like, oh, my heart breaks for these people. But overall, I really enjoyed the stories. It's not my favorite collection ever, but I'm also not the target audience. So if I was maybe younger, it probably would have been more exciting. It's, again, like a Cinderella retelling is not new to me, and so having the framework, it didn't feel like all of the stories were quite as unique. There was one that I really liked. I don't remember what it was called. I've been so bad at note-taking. It's been a tough time, but I'm gonna get back on it. I'm gonna go back into my notes and I'm gonna update what I think I remember from books so that I can move forward in my life. But I don't feel like I've gotten closure from all of my reads. But yeah, overall, I would recommend Transmogrify. I liked most of the stories. There were a couple that I felt so about, but overall, I think that it's a good collection. I was really interested in just like seeing happiness for trans people, and it's all by trans and non-binary authors. I think overall, it's just like a good project, and again, if you're doing our fantasy, you need a short story collection anyway. You might as well try. And then we get into my Pageathon books. I fully forgot to mention that I also read in Pageathon Where No Shadows Stay by Sarah Hashem. I love her. She can do no wrong in my eyes. I've been a big fan since her debut that just did air. I want to briefly talk about it just because this was like a monumental moment in my reading career. Since I began tracking back in 2021, Where No Shadow Stays is my 1,000th book read in this time period. Like, ever since I started tracking and started YouTube and all these things, this was my 1,000th book, which feels insane. That's too many. But if I think about it now, I can rationalize. It's like, okay, about 5 years, I can read about 1,000 books. So like, what 1,000 books am I going to prioritize for the next 5 years? Which maybe will spiral me into a rabbit hole that I won't climb out of, but like, we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited to like keep hitting milestones as I continue. I really love seeing not only like stats and seeing my journey and like being able to look back on all of the things that I've read, which have a lot of memories tied to them, but it also really excites me to be like, I have accomplished so much. I talk about it so often, but young Sam was a reader, but not nearly to the degree that I am now. And with the help of audiobooks, it's really beneficial for those like me who are dyslexic, and just being able to like have an outlet where it's like I can enjoy this hobby and I don't have to feel bad about it. And there's also like a community around it that I'm a part of now. And so it's not so isolating, and it's just oh, so many accomplishments, and it's just it's a true joy. We're not gonna get sappy. I can't do it, but just know that hitting my 1,000th book was really exciting for me, and I got to celebrate that in Pagebound. So ta-da! Skipping ahead, the next book that I read will be actually discussed May, I think, 24th. It's a Sunday, around noon Pacific Standard Time, which would be 3 p.m. Eastern Standard, because we'll be talking about the next Ursa Dax book, which is Smitten to the... No, I do this every time. I just did this in my TBR video too. Zora's book, it doesn't matter, you don't care. We're going to talk about the next Ursa Dax book, but we're also talking about You Did Nothing Wrong by C.G. Drews. I am really excited to talk about this book. It's a hard read, and I'm hoping that my friends are able to, you know, handle it and get through it. But again, like, it's difficult, and I'm excited to talk about it with them. I read it ahead of schedule because technically we were supposed to talk about it in April, and then they didn't read it. So good on me for once. I am typically the friend who does not finish the books, and I finished both of them last month, and I will not stop talking about it. I don't want to talk too much about it because I will be having a full discussion, so if you're interested in my thoughts, they'll be there. I will say that it is, again, a very hard read, and I do think people should check trigger warnings, make sure they're in a good headspace for it, and not force themselves to read it, but also remember that C.G. Drews themselves are also autistic. And so it's not coming from a place of like hate and ableism. It's probably a pretty universal shared experience that I think a lot of autistic kids have probably gone through. And yes, it's hard and it's not fun, but I think it's, again, really good for discussion and like opening the door and having the talks. But if it hits too close to home, if it's hard for you to read, take care of yourself. I overall liked it. I have a few issues with it. And I don't know how I fully feel about some of the decisions and reveals that were made. Overall, I think it was like it was well written, I think, for an adult debut. Interesting because the characters are so young adult that topic-wise, I understand that it's more adult, but the characters aren't quite as adult. So I can see that being frustrating for a lot of readers. But overall, I think I'm landing on like a 3.5, 4 stars on a good day type of situation, where overall I liked a lot of it, but at the same time it never was like, yes, like previous C.G. Drews works have been for me. Oh, this next one I also really don't have a whole lot to say about. I listened to Time is a Mother by Ocean Vuong, and I don't know how to talk about poetry. Was it good? Yeah. Did Ocean Vuong narrate it good? Yeah. I truly, like, I don't know enough about poems and how to critique them, the structure of them, what makes them good or bad. It's just like, it's kind of a feeling, a vibe, and I think the feeling was good. I enjoyed the experience listening to it. I thought there was a few that I'm sure had more of a purpose but did not work for me, and then some that I really enjoyed. So it kind of was a bit all over the place. I would say that it was like a pretty middle of the road, I hate to say it, poetry book for me. It wasn't like one that really stood out, but I've also been kind of in a slump when it comes to poems. Like, I've just not been finding good ones that really hit lately, and that might be a me problem. So take that all with a grain of salt. The next book, second to last book we have to talk about, is Weaving Shaw. This is a debut gothic fantasy. It reminded me a whole lot of House of Hunger. I don't know why exactly. I guess like the setup in some ways, because they both have brothers that they need to take care of. They're running away to like a gothic spooky manor to better themselves and their families with fortune. But this like is so different at the same time. Like there's no vampires. It's so different. But somehow the vibes were vibing, and I was thinking of House of Hunger a lot, which is a much shorter book and is about vampires and it's sapphic. This one is about a girl. I'm gonna call her a girl, but I don't actually remember her age. Older than 17 though, that's for sure. I think she's like young adult. But she can see ghosts, and she makes a deal with an almost godlike entity, if you will, who has a lot of power. I guess he is a god. But she goes to seek the saint and make a deal with him to help her brother, who's like very, very sick. And then we get to see the journey. He hires her because of her abilities, and so much more goes on from there. Like the setup of the plot really feels like House of Hunger, and then like the second half is such a different tone to me. And maybe that was my experience because I listened to the audiobook, but I didn't really care as much for the second half. And I think maybe because like I've read The Night and the Moth, which I love and adore, and I think that does this kind of story better. I don't know. This reminded me a lot of things. I really like the atmosphere. I like the writing. I think the characters were good. It kind of fell off in the second half for me, unfortunately. So I think I'm like ending this in a 3.5. I'm not opposed to continuing in the series though. I'll probably pick up the sequel, but I'm going to also need somebody to like refresh me, because in a year, I don't think I'm going to remember all of the reveals that we got. I'll remember a decent amount, hopefully. But if I get good at my note-taking, I'll be fine. And then the final book that I want to talk about is actually so exciting that I got it early and in time because it is the Literally Dead book club pick for May. And so I read it early, which is crazy. And I've been so behind on the book club that it feels nice that I'm ahead. But I listened to The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clark, which is V.E. Schwab and Kat Clark, and a little pen name together. I'm really looking forward to having a discussion about this and seeing what other people think about it and what their theories were. Because I'll be honest, it's a slow pace. It's interesting. I like the idea of authors being sent to a private island and they have to finish a book series because the author, he's dead. And nobody knows about it, but they need to ghostwrite the last chunk of his book, but not only his book, the end of his trilogy. And it's a very big deal, and the publisher is very stressed about it, and it needs to be good. And so not only are these authors offered $2 million if they win the competition, but also it's going to help them relaunch their careers. And I think that's very enticing for a lot of young authors, or like authors who just aren't making it. I think this book has a lot of conversations, and I hate to say conversations. I think this book brings up a lot of the difficulties with publishing and things that happen behind the scenes that like we kind of know about, but we're not really as in, which I think V.E. Schwab, I'm less familiar with Kat Clark, so I do apologize, but I know that V.E. Schwab has been in the publishing for a very long time, like at least 10 years, if not for sure more. I trust V.E. Schwab knows about the industry at this point, and so it is interesting to hear their thoughts, but also there were just some things that it just felt a little bit too on the nose, a little bit too like, oh, I don't know how to phrase it without spoiling everything. But I just don't feel like it did anything new or said anything new. I think that like the book community that I'm a part of has been having these discussions for so long that it was like, yeah. Like I just didn't feel so much shock and excitement from it, which I was kind of hoping for. I was kind of I wanted to be more wacky. What can I say? I really want my thrillers to just be kind of fun and wacky. I want them to go a little bit further, push the boundaries further. But overall, I would recommend. I think it's a pretty safe thriller to recommend. I think a lot of people would probably get some enjoyment out of it, especially because V.E. Schwab's name is attached to it. I think a lot of people are going to like it. It is interesting that it's co-written. I do wonder like who did what, how was it? I'm always so curious about collaborations with books. It's like, do you guys sit down and talk out the plot and then like each person writes different perspectives and like they mish it together and edit together, or they edit each other's? Like, how does it work? I would love to know. It sounds so stressful, but also like very, very cool. They're talented. It's great. But yeah, I think it had a few misses for me. I was really hoping to love it more than I did, but I am looking forward to talking about it and seeing what other people think about it and seeing if like it was just a me problem. Maybe I'm the outlier and everybody else loves this. I don't know, but I thought it was like solid. you know, those are all of the books that I read in the month of April. None of them that I necessarily needed to read, but I did catch up with the Literally Dead book club for this year, which felt really nice. I caught up with my own like book club and buddy read for the Ursa Dax and everything. So like I'm in a pretty solid place with my reading. I'm really happy. I got a 5-star that month, so that's great. I think I've had 3 5-stars in the year. So I would love to increase that, but I will be working on more reading vlogs to come soon. I will be working on finishing those TBRs that I had created and then did not get to, unfortunately. So we're going to work on that as well. Yeah, I'm really excited just about making content again. So I hope that you stick around. If you like, enjoy, subscribe, whatever. I'm so bad at ending videos again. I'm out of practice. What can I say? It's a vicious cycle. I could just sit here and talk for hours and never end a video. I do the southern goodbyes, the grandpa goodbye, if you will. So with that, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave you be. Have a great day. I will see you in the next video. Bye.